Chattanooga gets a lot of hype these days. And look, I love this city. I live here, I work here, and I've helped a lot of people relocate here, and I've even set roots and am raising my kids here. But here's the thing, it's not for everyone. Whether you're coming from out of state or just doing your research, there are real reasons why some people move here and end up disappointed, or even sometimes move back home. So in this video, I'm breaking down 18 different reasons why Chattanooga is not for you. No sugarcoating, no hype, just the honest truth from somebody who actually lives here and sees it every single day. And there's 18 points, and I'm gonna do shotgun type style. We're gonna go through them very quickly and try to give you as much information or as many things as you may not know or you may not think about when moving to a different city, especially like Chattanooga. The first reason is that your family isn't here. Now, this might not hit you right away. I've had many different clients that move here, love it here. The first 6 months, first year, they are on a honeymoon type of period. They love Chattanooga, and then 2-3 years later, they end up reaching back out to me. Hey, I need to sell my house. I'm moving back home. It's very hard because we do not have family here. Now, that's probably maybe 3 to 5% of the people that actually move here. But if you're super close to your family, right? I've had people that have moved here, I believe it was from New Orleans, and the plan was for their parents to eventually come here, but it ended up not happening, and they missed their family so much that they ended up moving back home. So your family isn't here. So if that's a big issue for you, or if they're coming later on, then great, but just know that your family isn't here. It might be a big issue for you. Reason number 2 is that you hate the humidity. If you're not used to the southern summers, let me just warn you, it gets hot and it gets pretty sticky. If you're coming from places in the country, like the western part of the country where it's a lot drier, it can be 110, 115, and you're not really sweating. And then you come to the south where it can be 85 degrees and 90% humidity, and you literally just open your door and you just start sweating. That's kind of the difference that you're gonna feel here. And for a lot of people, it might be a deal breaker, or you're at least gonna have to go through a period of living here over maybe 6 months or a year or two to get used to that humidity. Now, I personally love the humidity. I know when I visit places like Dallas or Colorado, and I just feel like my throat is dry the whole time. I can't stand that. But over here, you do have the flip side to where you're gonna sweat all the time. So it's up to you. Do you prefer the dry climate or the humidity, or can you at least put up with the humidity? That's something you definitely need to know. Reason number 3 is that you struggle with allergies. Now, I have never had any issues with allergies in my life until I moved to Chattanooga. When I initially got here, I remember the first spring, I was like, why is my eyes so itchy? Why is my nose running? And I didn't understand because I never struggled with allergies. And yes, after living here for 10 plus years, it's not a big deal anymore. Maybe the first couple years for a week or two during the allergy seasons in the spring. And in the fall time, I had to take, a 24-hour pill. But if you're somebody that struggles with a lot of allergies, you will definitely be affected here. Chattanooga is surrounded by natural beauty, and you have lush greens and mountains and trees and vegetation everywhere. But with that side comes the pollen count that shoots up through the roof in the spring and the fall time. Chattanooga is regularly on the top lists of, cities with allergies in Tennessee and in the nation. So that's something that you need to take into account. If allergies is an issue for you, you might be affected here in Chattanooga. I know I just talked about allergies, but if you guys are looking to move to the area, or you want your questions answered a little bit more in depth, or you have something specific to your situation, reach out to me on the number on your screen. I would love to talk to you to see if Chattanooga is the place for you to live. I have helped so many people move here, and I absolutely love transplanting people from other places and making Chattanooga their home. Reach out to me. We'd love to talk to you. But for now, let's get back to today's video. Reason number 4 is that you want a big city vibe. If you're coming from a major city like Atlanta or Miami or New York, Chattanooga might feel a bit small. We do have a downtown, of course. We have some great restaurants, some rooftop bars, and a decent art scene, but it's nothing compared to bigger cities like Atlanta 2 hours south, or Nashville 2.5-ish hours northwest of us. You're not gonna find a lot of 5-star restaurants open past 10 p.m. You're not gonna have a lot of public transportation because cars here are not an option. They are a must to get around. Chattanooga moves slower. It's more laid back, and that's why a lot of people love it. But if you're chasing that electric big city lifestyle, this may feel a little bit underwhelming for you. I know that I have friends and family that have visited us and they absolutely love Chattanooga, but they can't live here because it's such a small city compared to where they're coming from, like Miami or Orlando, Tampa, Atlanta. They want that big city hustle and bustle feel, and Chattanooga just doesn't have that. Number 5, you rely on public transit or transportation. If you do not want to rely on a car or you don't want to drive around a lot, Chattanooga is going to be a tough place for you to live. You absolutely have to have a car when living in Chattanooga. Now, if you live like downtown, maybe South Side or North Shore and those type of places, you might be able to get by with bikes or walking or scooters. But it does still rain here a good amount, so that's going to be kind of tricky for you. But Chattanooga doesn't have the best public transportation system. Yes, there's routes and things that go everywhere, but the wait times are long, and especially, again, unless you live downtown, you're going to have a car. If you want cheaper housing, you want to live in the country, you're going to need a car to get to the grocery store, to go to downtown, or to drive to work. So if you don't want to rely on a car or you want to live in a city that has great public transportation, Chattanooga might not be for you. Reason number 6 is that you're not really into outdoor life. Chattanooga is an outdoor life paradise. But if that's not your thing, you might feel out of place. Doesn't mean you can't live here, but one of the main things that people move here for is the outdoor life, the nature, the beauty that you can feel here. This city is surrounded by trails, rivers, mountains, and lakes. People hike, bike, paddleboard, and rock climb. Anything that you can think about outdoors, you name it, there, we have it here. It's really built into the lifestyle here. Even a lot of social events, meetups, and weekend plans tend to involve around something outdoorsy. Now, does that mean that you have to be an outdoorsy person to live in Chattanooga? Absolutely not. There's tons of people that live here that are not super fans of the outdoors, but a lot of things that you do in the city does revolve around outdoors. So if outdoors is not for you, yes, you can still live here, absolutely work and play and do a lot of things that are indoors, but for the most part, the main calling for the city is lots of the outdoor nature and beauty. Number 7, you need to have access or be close to a major airport. Now, I personally love Chattanooga's airport. It is small. As of the recording of this video, I believe we only have 15 direct flights to airports, and I absolutely love it. You park your car at 1 p.m. At 1:15, you're at your gate waiting to board your plane. It's a breeze. It's nice and smooth. But for a lot of people that travel a ton for work, or they need direct flights to certain cities because of work or travel or whatever the case may be, we do not have an airport that has those things. You're more likely to have to do a connecting flight either to Atlanta or to Charlotte or to Dallas or to Nashville to be able to go internationally or to a different city that you're looking for. So if you need a huge major hub of an airport, Chattanooga might not be it for you. But if you're okay with driving 2 hours down to Atlanta for that airport, or Nashville, or you're okay with just taking a connecting flight down to Atlanta, it's really like a 30-minute flight from Chattanooga to Atlanta, and then you get a connecting flight. If you're good with that, shouldn't be a problem. But if you need a huge major hub for an airport, Chattanooga might not be for you. Reason number 8, crime. Now, you need to do your own research on crime. I'm not here to say whether you should move here or you should move there when it comes down to crime. Every city has issues with crime. I've lived in a ton of places in my life, in Florida, in Georgia, in Tennessee, in North Carolina. I've been to different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and there's crime everywhere. Absolutely, we know that. But Chattanooga typically ranks above the national average when it comes to crime. Again, I've lived here for over 10 years. I have a family, I have 4 kids, I have a ton of friends here. None of us have had issues with anything related to crime, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist here. You need to do your own research and make sure you're comfortable when it comes to having the above the national average crime rates. Reason number 9 is that you don't like the small town energy. Now, in contrast, when I talked about earlier, when you're looking for that big city buzz, it's also different that you don't like the small town energy. What does that mean to you? The small town energy is that we typically are very neighborly. Chattanooga is a mid-sized city by population, especially when you count the full metro and Hamilton County area. But despite the size, it still carries a small town feel in a lot of ways. People say hi to strangers. Local business owners remember your name. And in many industries, especially things like real estate and education and small businesses, and it can feel like everybody knows everybody. If you're used to big city living where you can disappear into the crowd, this shift might feel a little bit too close-knit, right? If you like your privacy, if you don't want people to bug you, you can still get that here, but more often than not, people are gonna know who you are. And this is a small enough city that if you know somebody that knows somebody, typically you know a lot of people. It all really depends on what type of environment makes you feel at home. So if you're moving here to the south, just know that it has more of a small town type of energy. Reason number 10 is that you're coming from the beach. I know this is a shocker, but Tennessee is not located by the beach. It's landlocked. There's no beaches around here. We have a ton of rivers, a ton of lakes, and that type of stuff, but obviously we don't have a beach. Growing up in Miami, this was one of the biggest issues for me when moving here, or at least I thought that was an issue. I love the beach. Growing up, we went to the beach every single weekend. So I was like, man, Tennessee's beautiful, but I want to live by the beach. What do? I don't know if I like that. And honestly, I haven't really missed it that much, especially when you have kids. And if you have kids and you take them to the beach, you know how it feels. Sand gets everywhere. It's a whole ordeal. But for the most part, you can get away to the beach on a weekend trip. We are about 6.5 hours from the Florida Panhandle. We're about 5.5 hours from Savannah, Georgia, about 5.5 to 6 hours from Charleston, South Carolina. You are close enough to the beach that you can get to it within a weekend trip as many times during the year. And typically people here, when they're done with winters, especially like me, like March, April time, people typically go to the beach. So if you need that in your backyard, I know I have family and friends that will never move here just because there's no beach and they absolutely love the beach. Totally cool. It might not be for you, but we do have a lot of water things like, creeks and rivers and lakes. We have all that if you just need to be by water. But if you need the beach, if you need the ocean sounds and you need the sand and you need all that, we don't have that here. Reason number 11, and this is one of the reasons that a lot of people are starting to understand about this area, is that you want a brand new home or you want a really nice home at a bargain price. There definitely was a time when Chattanooga was one of the best kept secrets in the South. Not a lot of people knew about it. The prices were really low and you can get a lot for your money. Now you can still get a lot for your money, especially because Chattanooga is still below the national average when it comes to home prices. But of course, that national average has definitely increased over the last 3 to 5 years. We're definitely still more affordable than cities like Nashville and Atlanta and Charlotte and many other places. But if you're expecting to snag a brand new house on a huge lot for under $300,000, you are probably going to be disappointed. Those kinds of deals are definitely getting harder, especially in the more desirable school zones and suburban areas. So if your budget is tight and you're looking for new, you might need to either adjust expectations or definitely expand your search areas, and we can start looking at different towns. But for the most part, just know that it's not as cheap as it used to be. Number 12, you're a foodie or you're big on culinary variety. Now, I myself am not a huge foodie. I love food, but I'm not a foodie to where I have to try all these different restaurants and, oh, this new place opened up, let's go ahead and try that. That's not me. But if you are that type of person, we do have a good amount of variety and a good amount of restaurants. But the food scene here is not like a big city like Nashville or Atlanta again. So if you're used to highly diverse, constantly rotating food scenes, it's gonna feel or it's gonna be very limited for you. The food here is good, but the variety isn't just that deep yet. If food is a major part of your lifestyle, then that's definitely something that you have to be aware of and know when you're moving here. Now, I've never had somebody not move here because the food scene wasn't up to par to their standards, but something for you to know because obviously you don't live here and that might be important to you. Reason number 13 is that you're expecting luxury shopping. Now, we have probably 95 to 97% of the stores that you would need. We have Whole Foods and Target and Lululemon and all these different places, Home Depot, like all the big branch stores we have here. What we don't have are the luxury brands like Gucci and all these fancy names. You will not get that here. If you want that, drive 2 hours south to Atlanta, 2.5 hours northwest to Nashville, you will definitely get that. So if you just need to get away for the day or for the weekend to do your shopping, not an issue. But if you need that in your backyard and you like to stroll the mall in all these luxury type of stores, you're not going to get that here. Reason number 14, and this may be more for people that are coming from very hot climates, is that the winters here get cold. Now, obviously, it gets cold in the winter, but I'm talking mainly for people from Nevada or Arizona or Florida in those type of places to where the winter is probably the best time of year, right? So in Florida, when it's winter time, it's like 60 to 70 degrees. It's absolutely amazing. Obviously, when you move to the area in Chattanooga, it's going to be cold in the winter, and that's not a shock for people, but because they're expecting it, but it is a difference. We've had friends that haven't moved here just because it gets cold here in the winter. Yes, they absolutely hate the summers in Florida, but they will do that trade-off because in the winters in Florida, it's absolutely amazing. And then over here on the flip side, it gets in the 30s and 40s. So obviously it gets colder here in the winters, but this is more geared towards the people that are coming from very hot climates that love the winters where they're coming from. It does get cold here in the winter, and that's just something that you need to take into account. Number 15 is that you need everything open late, or you need things open late a lot of the times. Again, this goes back to the big city energy. It's not kind of like that, but things close pretty early, pretty often. Chattanooga is definitely not a 24-hour city, and a lot of the times restaurants and a lot of these stores close at 9 or 10 p.m. Yes, there's still bars that stay open on the weekends past that time, but during the week, Monday through Thursday, they will probably close a lot earlier than you expect. Now, this isn't a huge revelation because it's a small city, but if you're coming from a big city, I remember I lived in Miami my whole life up until the military, and then I came here and I was expecting, Walmart to be 24/7 or the grocery store to be open until 1 a.m. and I went at 9:30 or so and it was closed. So to me, I was like, oh my goodness. Something for you to know that if you're coming from a big city where things are 24 hours a day, it feels like that's not how it's going to be here. It's not a huge ordeal. It's not a huge issue, but something you should definitely be aware of. Number 16 is that you don't like living in a growing city or having to deal with the construction that comes with that. More often than not, you're coming from somewhere, whether it's a big city or even a medium or smallish city. Everywhere in the country, I feel like, is growing like crazy. So this might not be too much of a difference or too much of a hassle for you, but Chattanooga is growing. Chattanooga is growing a lot, and with that brings a lot of construction. Our highways are starting to expand, and they have a ton of construction there. There's a ton of places that are popping subdivisions. There's national builders like Pratt and D.R. Horton, all these builders coming to the area, along with the local builders that are building subdivisions everywhere. And that's, causing a lot of traffic, and that's making them open up and expand a lot of roads. So there's a lot of construction going on all around the city. I remember when I first got here in 2012, there was barely any construction going on, which could be a bad thing or a good thing depending on how you look at it with the infrastructure, but there wasn't a ton of traffic. Traffic has definitely increased over the last however many years that I've been here, but it's still not as bad as big cities like Atlanta, Nashville, Miami, and places that I've lived in my life. So if you're okay with the city growing, not a problem. But if you don't want to move somewhere that it is growing and it is continually trying to expand, which brings on traffic and road construction, might not be for you. Number 17 is that you need a lot of sun all year round. We get a ton of sun here. It's nothing like Florida or even Colorado or Southern California or Arizona and places like that, but we still get above the national average as far as days of sun. But something that does happen here a lot is that in the winter time, we get a lot of gray and gloomy days, maybe for a couple days or a couple weeks at a time. And that's a huge difference, especially if you're coming from the places I already mentioned. We've had family visit here in the winter time and they're like, man, it is so gray and gloomy. It was sunny in Florida and I come here and I just feel different here because it's so gray and gloomy. And that's something that you're gonna have to deal with. Now, it's not all winter. There are some winters that are worse than others, but it does get gray and gloomy here. And that's something that you need to know. If you love sun, way more times than not, that might be an issue for you for a couple months in the winter time. And number 18, maybe the best for last, is that you do not like bugs or wildlife. So with Chattanooga being an outdoorsy type of city, we have mountains, we're surrounded by lush green and plants and vegetation everywhere. That obviously brings in a lot of bugs and a lot of wildlife. For example, where I live a little bit more into the country. We have hedgehogs everywhere. We had to build a 6-foot tall fence around our garden because there was a ton of animals coming in and eating everything on my backyard when I take out my dog to use the bathroom before bed, whether 10 p.m., midnight. I have kind of a hill behind my house, and you shine the flashlight and you see a ton of eyes looking at you. I have maybe 5 to 10 deer on my backyard at any point. A lot of people love that and they think it's so pretty and cute, but you have a ton of mosquitoes and spiders and a lot of things like that. If you're coming from a big city and you don't like those things, something you need to take into account. Doesn't mean you can't get exterminators and get your property ready for all that type of stuff, but just know there's a ton of bugs here because you live within nature, within a forest, within a area that is very outdoorsy, and all that lush, beautiful green and vegetation translate into a lot of animals and a lot of bugs. Well, there it is, guys. 18 reasons why Chattanooga might not be for you. Don't let those reasons discourage you. I still live here. I still love it here. I would live nowhere else in the country because I absolutely love Chattanooga, and so many families that have moved here also feel the same way. So if you guys are looking to move to the area, reach out to me on the number on your screen. Shoot me a text, give me a call, or just shoot me an email as well. I would love to make Chattanooga the city for you, or maybe expand on any of the points I talked about today. Reach out to me. We'll love to speak to you. And with that said, until next time, take care and God bless.